The subject of today's video was once a top 10 quarterback in his high school class, was Lane Kiffin's next great quarterback at Ole Miss, and was supposed to carry the torch after Matt Corral left Oxford. Unfortunately, he ended up getting hurt and lost his starting job, and has since had to leave Ole Miss. With a ton of potential still though, many schools went after him in the portal, and he has since found a new home in the Big Ten. He'll more than likely be the starter from day one there, and he has a chance to be the best quarterback that this program has seen in quite some time in my opinion. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Luke Altmyer. He was a big-time recruit coming out of high school and has since transferred from Ole Miss to Illinois and has the potential to be the next great Illini quarterback. We're going to go through who he is, his journey to this point, and why he could be such a big deal. But before we get started, quickly be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you love college football content, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now, let's go ahead and get started and talk about the big-time transfer of Luke Altmyer. Going back in time, Altmyer's parents always knew Luke was special, and they found that out when he was 7 years old. Luke actually set the city record for touchdown passes in a season during his 7 and 8-year-old league. Athletics ran in the family, as his dad played baseball at Mississippi College, but football found Altmyer instead of those other sports. His father also had a very notable profession, as he was actually the team orthopedic surgeon for Mississippi State since 2004, and even worked with East Mississippi Junior College, which was part of the popular Netflix series Last Chance U. In middle school, Luke had the dream of playing SEC football, and he hoped one day he could make it happen. Guys like A.J. Brown, Willie Gay Jr., and Kobe Jones all made high-level football, and he said, quote, "You see them come through, and you just dream of being in their shoes one day." Right away, he got some college interest, and while it wasn't the SEC, he got his first offer from Memphis. This was just after he arrived at Starkville High School, and Mike Norvell at the time was the head coach for the Tigers, and they also had Kenny Dillingham as the offensive coordinator, and they wanted Altmyer right away. As a sophomore, he was your average player, but he was ready to blow up, and part of that was because of him getting some extra help. At the time, Luke was good friends with Joe Moorhead's son, and Moorhead advised the Altmyer family that a quarterback trainer could help skyrocket their son's potential. Altmyer began working with a guy by the name of David Morris, who was a former Ole Miss quarterback that runs a program called QB Country, which works with high school quarterbacks in Mobile, Alabama. This would end up changing the game for Luke, as Luke's dad recalls taking him to work out for the first time, and the trainer told him that there was something special with Luke, and at first, it took the father by surprise. His trainer knew pretty quickly on that he was going to be big time. Quote, "He became more confident in his arm, and his arm got stronger. He started making the big time throws where he was throwing guys open, and when guys were covered, he was throwing the ball where the defensive back wasn't. That's the moment when he knew he could be a Power 5 quarterback. He began to blow up more and more, putting up decent numbers as a sophomore, but in his second year starting for Starkville is when he took the nation by storm. As a junior, Altmyer threw for 3,093 yards and 37 touchdowns, to go along with 5 interceptions and a 67% completion rate. His trainer said, quote, "As a 10th grader, he wanted you to be open before he threw it, and as an 11th grader, he took the next step. He was more confident and started putting some balls where most guys couldn't." This led to multiple offers from big-time schools, and at the time, he was listed as a 3-star recruit. From there, he would commit to Florida State in February after first-year head coach Mike Norvell and Kenny Dillingham made it clear that Luke was their top quarterback target. Eventually, scouts began to bump him up as well, as he became a consensus 4-star recruit, and ESPN even listed him inside their top 125 recruits in the country. But it would not last forever, as rumors began to swirl about him flipping, and he began to have doubts about Florida State. He said, quote, "It was just hard for me to see myself in Tallahassee, which was so far away, and I felt like Ole Miss was the spot for me." We'll get to that a little bit later, but as a senior, Altmyer was one of the top high school quarterbacks in the nation, but unfortunately, his senior campaign was cut short due to injury, and maybe this gave him some extra time to think about what he wanted to do. Where would he end up going? Well, he eventually chose Ole Miss over Florida State, LSU, Mississippi State, and Oregon. Based on my research, despite him being from Starkville and his dad having the connection to the team, it never really seemed he was interested in Mississippi State. If you're a Bulldogs fan, please let me know down below why that's the case. Why did he end up choosing the Rebels? Well, he said, quote, "It's very special to see a first-year coach like Kiffin have so much success in a crazy year with everything going on in the world and so many rule changes. To see him having a lot of excitement buzzing around Oxford, the SEC, and the nation is something that I want to be a part of." There were other factors, but the Ole Miss tradition, Lane Kiffin, Jeff Lebby, and the chance to play in the SEC sold Luke, and he was pumped to get going. This was a huge recruiting win for Lane Kiffin, who was going to have to prepare for life after Matt Corral one day, and Luke was going to be that future. Scouts thought he would translate super well to the college game, as one of the first things they loved about him was his size. He was 6'3" and nearly 200 pounds, which was great for his position, and he also had a really quick release. He excelled at snap throws, which was super important because of the modern day RPO game, and finally, he was super accurate. All those traits combined led Altmyer to being ranked pretty highly. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 4-star recruit, number 21 quarterback, and the 196th best player in the class of 2021. In 3 years at the helm for Starkville, he threw for nearly 7,389 yards and 80 touchdowns. He broke many school records and was a super memorable player for them. How would he end up doing in Oxford? Let's take a look. As a freshman at Ole Miss, Altmyer would sit and learn behind Matt Corral, but his name was actually called upon. In the first half of the Sugar Bowl, Matt Corral went down with an ankle injury, and Altmyer was forced in with the Wolves. Unfortunately, they ended up getting blown out by Baylor, and he just didn't look prepared for the moment. Left a lot of Ole Miss fans not feeling very confident in him moving forward, but Lane said he gained a ton of confidence throughout the next few months. Luke said, quote, "Obviously, with Matt being gone in a new chapter, there's a lot more time with Lane Kiffin. Just being around him and sitting in the meetings every day giving me coaching points is making me more confident and comfortable." Unfortunately for Luke, it wasn't going to be that easy for him though, as Lane Kiffin decided to bring in another high-profile quarterback. Jackson Dart was one of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2021 and took over for Keaton Slovis at USC. He showed immense potential, and when he entered the portal, Lane Kiffin got him to come to Oxford. There was going to be a quarterback battle between Altmyer and Dart, and while many wanted the swaggy USC transfer, Luke had a shot at the job. In fact, he was the highest rated in-state quarterback to come to Ole Miss this century, and spent a year learning under Matt Corral, who was in the NFL. Eventually, Lane Kiffin would actually name 2 starting quarterbacks, and each one of them would get a chance to play. Luke would eventually make his first career start against Central Arkansas, but unfortunately in that game, he would sustain an upper body injury and didn't play for the second half of their game. This led to him falling behind, and was pretty much the beginning of the end for Altmyer at Ole Miss. From there, Jackson Dart took over, and while he was brilliant at times, he also showed his youth and inexperience, and Kiffin brought in both Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard to compete with him for 2023. I guess Luke saw the writing on the wall and decided to enter the transfer portal. Honestly, 2 schools that immediately jumped to mind for me when he entered the portal were both Arizona State and Florida State, with Mike Norvell at FSU and Kenny Dillingham now the coach at ASU. Ultimately, Altmyer I think wanted to play, and his best chance would come in the Big Ten. After appearing in 8 games over the course of his Ole Miss career, he finished with a total of 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Despite the low numbers, Illinois didn't really care. After a breakout 2022 season, their 1-year rental of Tommy DeVito was over, and Brett Bielema needed a new quarterback. Altmyer fell in love with the Illini pretty quickly, saying, quote, "It's a great football program, and they have a great trajectory, coaching staff, and the Big Ten is very attractive." Obviously, I think he did like Illinois. I think the biggest factor for him was the path to starting. The current Illinois roster is not doing very well when it comes to quarterbacks. Yes, Isaiah Williams was a former 4-star quarterback who's a wide receiver now, but currently they only have redshirt freshman Donovan Leary and 2023 signee Cal Swanson. Right now, it's pretty obvious that Altmyer is probably going to be the starter there, and based on everything I've read, there should be no reason why he isn't. While some Illini fans may view him as a placeholder, I think he could get back to his potential that he had coming out of high school, and could be the best Illinois quarterback we've seen in a long time. Back in the day, they had guys like Nathan Scheelhaus and Juice Williams, and even Wes Lunt was pretty decent for them, but since then, they haven't really got a lot of consistency out of the position. DeVito did well for his role, and Brandon Peters had his moments. Overall, they haven't had a complete quarterback who's a star that could change the program. Illinois offensive coordinator Barry Lunney Jr. is really excited for what Altmyer could bring to Illinois' offense, and with Chase Brown leaving for the NFL, they'll have to replace him, and we'll have to lean on the experience of Luke. Altmyer said, quote, "I was looking for a place where I felt valued, and a place where they believed in me. My first conversation with Coach Bielema in his office were all of those things. He had value in me, and truly he had the belief. The words he used were almost too good to be true, but they're not. I really can tell with him, and this is my home, and I plan to be there for a long time. I believe Altmyer will have 3 years of eligibility and could be the next great Illinois quarterback. I'm really excited to watch him next year, and I hope he ends up tearing it up for the Illini." But what do you guys think? If you're an Ole Miss fan or an Illinois fan, what do you think of Luke Altmyer? What are your expectations for Illinois and Ole Miss football this year? And who's another transfer I could take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.